What is the true image of Jesus Christ? For many, it's that of the humble carpenter, the gentle teacher, the man who walked the dusty roads of Galilee. And that image is true, but it's only part of the truth. There is another image of Jesus, a vision so powerful, so glorious and terrifying, that the apostle who once laid his head on his chest, upon seeing it, fell at his feet as though dead. This is the image of the eternal Christ, the one who existed before time began. The Bible gives us a shocking glimpse of who Jesus truly was before the creation of the world, and this revelation has the power to transform our faith. Before we open this window into eternity, if you wish to know Jesus in all his majesty and power, subscribe to our channel right now and turn on notifications. The truth we are about to uncover is the very foundation of our hope. The story takes us to the island of Patmos, a Roman penal colony. There, the old apostle John, exiled for his faith, receives a visitor. He hears behind him a voice like a trumpet and, upon turning, he sees the one he knew intimately, but as he had never seen him before. Among 7 golden lampstands was one like a son of man. His hair was white like snow, his eyes were like a flame of fire, his feet were like polished bronze in a furnace, and his voice was like the sound of many waters. From his mouth came a sharp, two-edged sword, and his face shone like the sun in all its strength. This was not the Jesus of Nazareth. This was the King of the universe in his unveiled glory. John, the beloved disciple, doesn't run to embrace him. He collapses, overwhelmed by holiness and power. And then, the glorified Christ touches him and says the words that form the basis of our faith. Do not be afraid. I am the first and the last, and the living one. I was dead, and behold I am alive forever and ever. And I hold the keys of death and Hades. This declaration is the central thesis of the story. Jesus is not just a good man or a prophet. He is the Lord of time, the conqueror of death, and the sovereign of humanity's eternal destiny. This glorious vision raises the most important question of all. If this is the true identity of Jesus, why did he hide it? Why did the King of the universe, whose face shines like the sun, choose to appear as a simple carpenter from an obscure village? The answer is not weakness, but the greatest act of love and strength ever demonstrated. The Apostle Paul, in Philippians chapter 2, gives us the secret. He says that Jesus, being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing, taking the very nature of a servant. This emptying, known as kenosis, does not mean that Jesus ceased to be God. That would be impossible. It means that he voluntarily veiled, or concealed, the visible manifestation of his glory. Imagine the sun. We depend on its light and heat to live, but we cannot look directly at it, as its glory would destroy us. For us to be able to draw near, the sun would need to veil its brightness. That is what Jesus did. He, the Son of Righteousness, veiled his unbearable glory in a human body so that he could walk among us, teach us, and finally, die for us. His divinity was intact, but his glory was hidden. The prophecy of Isaiah chapter 53 had already announced this. He had no beauty or majesty to attract us to him, nothing in his appearance that we should desire him. His greatness was in his essence, not his appearance. Every act of humility, washing the disciples' feet, eating with sinners, touching lepers, was an act of divine restraint. He was hiding the power that kept the planets in orbit in order to hold the hand of a child. The transfiguration was a brief moment when the veil was torn a little, a glimpse of the glory that lay beneath. But it was in his prayer in John chapter 17, just before the cross, that Jesus himself confirmed this truth. He prays to the Father, and now, Father, glorify me in your presence with the glory I had with you before the world began. This is not a prayer for a future glory, it is a request for the restoration of the ancient glory he had with the Father from eternity. It is the unequivocal affirmation of his eternal pre-existence. If this understanding of Christ's humility as an act of power and love is deepening your worship, please consider supporting us with a super thanks. Your generosity helps us to continue proclaiming the majesty of our King. But how ancient is this glory? Jesus' prayer takes us to before the foundation of the world, and it is there that we discover his role as the creator of all things. The Gospel of John begins not in Bethlehem, but in eternity past. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made, without him nothing was made that has been made. The Word, in Greek logos, was the expression, the wisdom, and the power of God. And John tells us that this Word was Jesus. Jesus was not a spectator at creation, he was the agent of it. The Epistle to the Colossians, chapter 1, is even more explicit. For in him all things were created. Things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible. Whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities. All things have been created through him and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. Think about the depth of this. Jesus is not just the architect of the universe, he is the very force that holds it together. The law of gravity, the atomic forces, the laws of physics, all things subsist in him. He is the reason the universe doesn't fly apart into chaos. This truth makes the Christmas story even more shocking. The Creator entered his own creation. The one who designed the stars was born under them. The hands that formed the mountains were once the small hands of a baby. And the voice that said, "Let there be light," learned to cry and to speak. This is not a secondary truth, it is the foundation of Christianity. Jesus is God himself. He declared it openly in John chapter 10, when he said, "I and the Father are one." The religious leaders of the time understood perfectly what he was claiming. They accused him of blasphemy, because you, a mere man, claim to be God. And they were right in their interpretation, but wrong in their conclusion. He was not making himself God, he was revealing who he had always been. His divine identity gives absolute authority to every one of his words, every promise, his sacrifice, and his resurrection. This brings us back to Patmos. Why did Jesus reveal all this glory to John at that specific moment? Because the church was suffering. It was under intense persecution from the Roman Empire. Believers were being killed, and the future seemed bleak and uncertain. And it is in this context of chaos and fear that Jesus appears. He does not appear as the suffering carpenter, he appears as the cosmic king, the judge, the absolute Lord of history, to show his suffering church that the throne is not empty. He is in the midst of the lampstands, which represent the churches. He is present, he is in control. The vision was not to frighten John, but to strengthen the faith of every believer, to remind us that no matter how chaotic the world seems, our King is alive, he reigns, and he holds the keys to our destiny in his hands. And this same truth applies to us today. In the midst of our own storms, our uncertainties, and our fears, we are called to take our eyes off the waves and to look at the image of the glorified Christ. Our Jesus is not just a historical figure trapped in the pages of a book. He is the living, pulsating reality that sustains the universe. He is the one who knew us before the world existed and who has prepared a glorious future for us. Understanding his pre-existence and his eternal glory is not just a theological exercise, it is the source of our peace and our courage. If you have never surrendered to this glorious King, the invitation is open. If this revelation of the majesty of Christ has filled you with awe and reverence, share this video with someone who needs a greater vision of Jesus. And leave your comment below. What detail of Christ's glory in Revelation impacted you the most? Finally, if you want to continue growing in the knowledge of our great God and Savior, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. May the vision of the glorified Christ restore your reverence, rekindle your faith, and revive your hope, today and forever.